Well, great to chat to Lewis Werrell there, who starts this one on pole position alongside Oleksandr Bondarev. And, well, this race should be interesting because, once again, they've switched sides, Jake.
They have switched sides, but these are the two drivers who have been unbeatable over the course of the weekend. So one of them is going to have to be defeated this time. Lewis Werrell and Oleksandr Bondarev, Cristian Castella and Jack Eilif from Salim Hanna and Mathias Orjuela, Guy Alberg and Roman Kamiab from Joel Pohjola and Filippo Sala, Henry Domain and Andy Consani from Augustus Toniolo and Sebastian Letimaki, Noah Wolf and Kimi Tani from Louis Cochet and Alp Aksoy, then Thomas Vanschik and Alfons Miettinen, Jensen Burnett and Lucas Abruchnik, Oskar Kimmel, Jan Stenschel, Arjen Kreiling and Matthias Reiber finish off the grid. And this is the crunch time heat as far as the junior battle is concerned. Both of these drivers on the front row of the grid, Lewis Werrell and Oleksandr Bondarev, have not been defeated yet over the course of their first three race heats. One of them is going to have to concede defeat this time.
They really are, aren't they? And that's going to be one of the hardest things for a lot of these drivers, is having to deal with that, because, like you say, they've had a perfect weekend so far. Someone's going to have to concede some points here, so that will be a real shake-up for it. One more lap to get themselves sorted out. Right at the back of the field there. Is that Kreiling or is that Reiber I'm seeing there going round, who is struggling to keep up with the rest of the pack despite the fact this is only a formation lap?
I think that's actually one of the DR chassis, isn't it? Towards the tail end of the field. It's Jan Stenschel, who is only 2 places back from his position on the grid, so he can make it back relatively quickly.
Right, that's all good then. So, the race about to get underway. Field getting themselves all sorted out for this one. Real shake-up then in the main field, and I suspect nerves at this point. We're getting into the latter half of the weekend now. Half race distance, I'd say, or half weekend distance for a lot of these drivers is now done. So, you know, pressure starting to build. Drivers who haven't had a good weekend are starting to think, I've got to make positions now. And this is where we start to see not desperate moves, but committed moves.
A mistake here at this point in the weekend is going to be costly for both Lewis and Oleksandr. Let's see what happens. The lights go out and we go racing. And it's going to be very close indeed between the two of them. Bondarev is the one who's managed to jump forward, though, in front of Lewis Werrell. So Bondarev has got the first job into the start, and he has managed to get himself into the lead here. Lewis Werrell in second place. There's a crash on the first turn itself, though, as right in the middle of the road, we've got a kart facing in the wrong direction. And it looks like Thomas Vanschik has had a bit of a problem. Matthias Reiber is the one that's stopped out on the circuit, but it looked like Joel Pohjola has fallen all the way down to the back of the field as Matthias Reiber tries to get the kart started. Even though it's downhill, it's not going to happen. It's game over for the Slovakian Matthias Reiber.
Yeah, disaster. His race is over before it really starts into turn one. Big shame. Back at the front, though, as you can see, battles are still raging on as everyone just tries to find a bit of track to try and stick to, as everyone finds their way through. Jack Eilif there, you can see he's dropped down a couple of positions. This one started in P4. He's down into P5 now as he tries to wrestle his way back through. Across the line they go. It's Bondarev who leads from Werrell, Castella, Hanna, Eilif, Albag. Then it's Orjuela from Domain, Kosani. Then Kamiab, the top 10, who's dropped down a couple of positions in that as well. So he's not had the best of starts, has Roman Kamiab, but nonetheless, it's a better start than what he had earlier on. Bondarev checks over the shoulder just to see what's going on behind. Werrell's still there, and Werrell, like we say, both of them have had a dominant performance. One of them's going to have to concede here. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be?
Well, Bondarev certainly knows how quick Lewis Werrell in the Forza is going to be. He knows that the man behind him is the fastest man from time qualified. So in the opening couple of laps of this race, he's got to be very careful where he places the kart. He doesn't want to concede too much, but he also doesn't want to overwork the tyres. He doesn't want to be too defensive because he knows that Lewis Werrell is going to take the first given opportunity to go for the overtake. So he doesn't really want to give him too much ammunition to try and steal the race win away from him. So as they come down the straight again, you've got Bondarev in front of Werrell, Castella, Eilif, Hanna, Albag, Orjuela, Domain, Kamiab and Kutsani. But the battle is really between Bondarev and Werrell up front as Lewis Werrell seeks an opportunity to become the unbeatable.
Yes, indeed. So we go on to lap 3, and again, the battle's still raging on, and a little bit of a mistake there from one of the Forza drivers. I think that was Guy Albag making a mistake, or Orjuela, who was all over the rear bumper there trying to get a position done. I don't think he's managed to get it.
No, he did.
Oh, he did get it done.
And now Albag trying to get back at him as they go down to the compression complex, and Orjuela did manage to secure the position. So a big mistake there from Guy Albag, but he can get that back later. So Bondarev still holding Werrell to ransom, and you can see Albag right in the middle of the war zone here as he's got pressure now from Henry Domain in the Sodi car. Domain dropping down the hill, trying to make his way through on the inside line, looking for this way, looking for that way, but he can't quite make the move stick at the moment. And as they come onto the main straight, it's Bondarev, Werrell, Castella, Eilif and Salim Hanna.
Yes. So here we go then, as they make their way back up the hill through turn 1. Still very, very close for this top section. I've got to say, it looked to me there that Orjuela going slightly defensive as Bondarev sets the fastest lap of the race. No real need to do that. You know, you can stick the car in the middle of the circuit. You don't need to back the back up too yet. We're very early doors in this race. Now goes to the normal racing line, but still plenty of stuff out there. And I've got to think, is Werrell closing in? I don't think it. The gap's 0.3 of a second. We'll keep an eye on it. It does come down about 0.04 of a second that time around. You can see the mechanics at the side of the circuit geeing on the drivers here just to say, go, go, come on, put your foot down, as Castoya, there in third place, is really just trying to keep up.
Noah Wolf has just got past Gus Toniolo, and Matthias Orjuela has come to join the other Paralins. Castoya and Eilif in the top 5. Look in the background. There is where there was Matthias Orjuela to move forward in the Leclerc by Lennox chassis, but he didn't finish the move. And as a result, Salim Hanna is now a second back from Eilif, and really struggling to continue the battle between them. But look at Werrell, really starting to eat into that gap now from Bondarev. Not much between them at all. Werrell is just trying to keep him at bay at the moment. Investigation going on for the 226. That is Louis Cochet down at the back end of the field. So Bondarev and Werrell trading sector times at the moment. Neither driver prepared to give best to the other. And Bondarev knows that in the lead of the race, he's kind of at his limit. Now there's a stationary yellow flag briefly. So it looks as though somebody has come off the road and damaged the barrier.
I think we're okay. I think we're all good. I think, yeah, someone went slightly wide. There is a marshal running, but there is absolutely no one stationary on circuit. So everyone's still moving, which is good to see.
But there was debris, so we may get a technical flag.
That is very true. Something may have come off a kart. So let's see what happens as the race goes on. Half race distance. And Bondarev, like I say, still leads the way. It's now down to less than 0.3 of a second. So keep an eye on Werrell here. We know that the Forza karts are quick. We know that Bondarev in the Kart Republic is quick. Again, it's just who is going to crack under pressure first.
So Bondarev is obviously pushing the Kart Republic to its absolute limit here, knowing how quick Lewis Werrell is behind him. Werrell is just trying to feed in behind him and try and get as much out of the Forza expert as he possibly can. The two Paralins behind, Castoya and Eilif, still trying to keep it nice and tidy as they run through on the far side. This is where things are going to get very tricky from here on out, aren't they? You know that these two are going to be absolutely pushing it to the ragged edge, even in the midfield. Lots of good battles as Alfons Mietinen is now under investigation.
I'm not sure what that is for out on circuit, but I'm sure we'll be enlightened to find out after the race when anything gets dished out or not. Back with the front runners, and there the camera, very close-up shot there of Werrell as Bondarev once again the fastest lap of the race. So 53.9 is increasing that gap up again. It's just they are identical in terms of lap times. But I'm going to look at their lap times: 53.990, 54.041. Yes, nothing between them.
Yeah, it's not even a tenth of a second, is it? Here is the replay of Matthias Orjuela making his bid on the inside there of Gael Bag. That's how tricky that maneuver was, and I think we're going to have a look at his attempt as well to go for Salim Hanna. That might have been out of the cameras, to be fair. You can see Orjuela there really trying to hunt down Gael Bag and keep him at bay. Look at Werrell, 0.2 of a second between him and Bondarev. Bondarev just did a 54.0 while Werrell did a 53.96. So Werrell has not given up on the win at all. He is right there behind Bondarev, and with 3 laps to go, this may be when Lewis Werrell decides, right, I can catch him, I can pass him, I can take this.
Indeed, so that battle's happening there, but then there's also a battle happening further behind. Castoya and Eilif, the battle for third place, that's starting to heat up now. Jack Eilif, the American, against his teammate, the Spaniard, are now going tooth and nail here, just behind this one, as again, Werrell is right there behind Bondarev for the race lead. 2 groups of 2 here fighting it all the way to the end of this race. We are nearing the end of the race, and this is where we start to see those last-ditch efforts happen. They see that the time, right, we've got 2 laps left, we've got 1 lap left, here we go, we've got to do something, we've got to do something. Who's going to bite first out of the 2 of them? And across the line, Bondarev bites first by extending that gap a little bit more.
Well, this is an absolutely sensational situation for Bondarev in front of Werrell, Castoya, Eilif, Orjuela, Hanna, Albag, Domain, Kansani and Kamya, but this is a last-ditch effort for Lewis Werrell to try and make his bid on the back of Oleksandr Bondarev. He really wants to try and take this heat away. It's only a difference of 6 points, but that could be the difference between getting pole position or second or third for the superheat. So this is absolute maximum attack from Lewis Werrell. It's also maximum attack on the Paralins as Eilif has a go at Kostoya to try and get into third position. He has the fastest lap of the race now, Jack Eilif, on a 53.943. So he may just get one last crack at this on the final lap. But Lewis Werrell is all over the back of Oleksandr Bondarev, and he is not backing down from the offset.
No, he isn't. And across the line they go. The gap once again comes down to less than 0.3 of a second. It's been up and down in between that tenth all the way throughout this race. As we go on to the final lap, what has Lewis Werrell, what has Bondarev got to deliver left in this race as they go through? Bondarev leads. He's held the lead throughout the entirety of this one and has done a brilliant job. The same as Werrell all the way throughout this weekend. Both of them absolutely spotless performances from both of them. But one of them is going to have to concede a position here. And at the moment, it's going the way of Bondarev here as Werrell is struggling to find any form of gap to get past.
He's looking for any opportunity, any weakness, any vulnerability that Oleksandr Bondarev might show. But the Ukrainian is in fine form. He's not going to crack under the pressure. Doesn't matter what Lewis Werrell throws at him. He is going to bring it home. He has the license to thrill. The name's Bondarev, Oleksandr Bondarev. He's done it in fine style again, and he makes it 4 wins out of 4 in front of Lewis Werrell. Finally, something separates them, and it's the will to succeed for Oleksandr Bondarev. Werrell has the Tiger's drive. He tries everything to get past him, but it's not going to happen. Not when Bondarev is on the march.
Exactly. Well, what a drive from both Bondarev and Werrell, leaving the rest of the field back by 1.4 seconds from Kostoya and Eilif, who also had a fantastic race, maintaining their 3rd and 4th place starts. Mateusz Rochuela finishes in the top 5 after gaining 1 position from Salim Hana. Guy Olbag at the end of that maintains his 7th place starting spot, finishing there as well from Domain and Konsani, both gaining 3 positions. Roman Kamyab rounding out the top 10 after losing 2 positions. He still maintains a top 10 finish. They head back to Parc Ferme and Bondarev takes the race win.
So a terrific performance then. 4 out of 4 for the Ukrainian. Lewis Werrell having to concede defeat for the first time this week. However, that doesn't mean he won't take the overall victory in the superheats. We don't know what's going to happen in the last heat of the day just yet. Oleksandr Bondarev from Lewis Werrell, Christian Kostoya and Jack Eilif, then Mateusz Rochuela and Salim Hana. Guy Olbag in front of Henry Domain, Andy Konsani, Roman Kamyab and Noah Wolf, then Filippo Sala and Sebastian Lettimaki. Kimitani in 14th place in front of the Brazilian Augustus Toniolo. Then Joel Pocchiola, who had to fight his way back after a difficult first lap. Alpak Soy in 17th in front of Louis Cochet. The junior category, though, still between Bondarev and Werrell. And that's the first time they met on the same racetrack. Look at this start. Bondarev not budging, not moving, not being intimidated by Lewis Werrell. And he held on all the way through those 10 laps.
He did. So that starting position then for Werrell didn't work out that time then. He was preferring that run if you get the good run, but if you can't, you are at the mercy of that inside line. It was amazing that Werrell didn't lose more than 1 position, because we know that Kostoya could have gone through, Hana could have gone through as well. We've always seen that throughout the weekend. But the rest of the races went through. Then you had the 2 parallel teammates going through, Kostoya and Eilif, and I thought at that moment there, we were going to have 2 teammates colliding into each other. And you can see there the gestures coming in from the mechanics at the sidelines. But a dominant race performance from all the drivers. But Bondarev will maintain his perfect weekend, scoring maximum points so far in the intermediate.
Listo and Finn McLaughlin on the second row. Watch for them. Jimmy Helias and